Today on the show is my chat with Oare Himoa, founder Laborhack, who tells me that the ecosystem has done pretty well, but a lot more is possible. Enjoy. Oare, glad to have you on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
How would you say the technology ecosystem fared in 2019?
I would say that in general, the tech scene in Nigeria has been on a steady rise, and 2019 was no different. There were a number of interesting entries into the space, also a number of interesting investments being made as well. Also given the increase in FDI inflow into the country, you can tell that the international community is buzzing with what Africa and what Nigeria has to offer. So from that perspective, I think 2019 was a glorious year. Also given the fact that we had so many tech celebrities as well coming into the country to see for themselves. A few fortunate people were privileged to meet them one-on-one. Hopefully I will get to that level where I'll be meeting with the Twitter CEO. But in general, I think 2019 was a good year. Just a testament to the potential for Nigeria and where we're going to.
Now, in some countries, large corporates play important roles. What role do you think large corporates in Nigeria can play to help the ecosystem grow?
I think there were some wins, but I'm probably not as optimistic as a few other people might be about the amount of support that we're getting from government, from policymakers in the space. I think that a lot more could have been done. I also think that a few policies were put in to actually detract entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs from scaling, and these things need to be addressed. I think that the tech community itself has to find a way of gaining a voice, and especially trying to influence the narrative when it comes to policy making, when it comes to government's influence in terms of what we're doing, because most times you do find that people in the public space do not really understand technology or what it's intended to do. And when you do not have a voice from the tech space that's actively trying to influence the narrative, then what you do find is that things happen and it more or less scales back on your potential as opposed to helping you move forward. So I would say it was a mixed bag, but probably more negative than positive.
Now, talking about getting a voice, how do you think the tech community can achieve that?
Okay, so there's some public-private sector initiatives, right, that can be leveraged that exist already. Probably one of the most notable might be the Nigerian Economic Summit Group or something like that. But I think given the amount of traction that's being gained in this space, literally people need to think beyond the present, need to think beyond the short term to long-term sustainability for themselves, for their businesses. And the only way you can do that is by showing a genuine interest in what happens with the country and with what's happening at the government level. So literally, young entrepreneurs have to band together and start having those conversations. And it literally just takes one person maybe to kickstart that. So whoever might be passionate about doing this can take a stab at it.
Now, what do you think are some of the specific roles that large corporates can play in helping to build the ecosystem?
Well, I think large corporates, definitely have a place to play. What you find though is that the younger tech companies are so nimble and so flexible that literally things are changing at a fast pace. But you almost need the stability that large corporations bring to kind of anchor you and center you. And because large corporations have been around for so long, they do have the ear of governments, they do have influence in like the market. So it would take literally just, I feel, take one or two conversations to get some large corporates to buy into the idea of serving as that liaison. And it's not, don't be fooled, it actually does happen already. So you do find that a number of large tech companies are having conversations with government, but then are the smaller tech companies, the startups, do they have a voice around the table as well? That's what we need to find out, yeah.
What informed your decision in trying to solve a problem leveraging technology?
Wow, so I have always had a soft point for youth and youth achieving their potential. And I guess one of the biggest challenges for me is the high rate of youth unemployment in the country, because I'm literally watching like super great talent just being wasted away because they don't have the exposure that they need, right, to fulfill whatever potential that they have. And so that's why I just felt the need to move into this space and see how I can serve as a bridge between global expertise and our own people here, and trying to find a way for them to build the skills that they need to empower themselves, not just for today, but for their families and for the long term. And so working, especially within the construction space, is quite unique, because you find that the construction industry has been very traditional for a long time, and it hasn't been an industry that's really reinvented itself, especially in the area of talent development. So it's kind of like the big elephant in the room. So right now, just essentially trying to serve as that bridge to make high potential skilled artisans visible for projects on an ongoing basis is something I think can really change the narrative when it comes to the construction industry in Nigeria.
As a woman, how exciting is technology for you?
Well, I know maybe the men might be a lot more, I guess, flamboyantly excited about technology. I am pretty excited about it. But to be honest, I have a balanced view about technology, whether right or wrong. I just feel technology is just more of an enabler. So I don't really get carried away by the razzmatazz of like what you can do. There's some geeks out there, and rightfully so, they exist. But for me, it's always been more about what's the problem I'm trying to solve, and how can technology just serve as an enabler to help me scale or become more efficient or more effective.
Do you think there are enough women playing in this ecosystem?
No. Short answer.
So what should we do?
Well, I think one of the things that would help would be to have more female mentors in the space that are visible, right? That are showing young women that it's possible to play in this space in what might be traditionally viewed as a male-dominated space, that people are playing in it and are succeeding, right? So just having mentors or people that they can look up to would be a good way. I think also just being a bit more deliberate about having conversations with women, like setting up focus groups or setting up events where proactively we reach out to females and get them in the room and have those conversations would be helpful. So when you do a general call, you're probably going to get 80% male applicants or people show up or participants show up. But when you do make it a proactive, it means you're literally maybe knocking on doors, or you're actively going to women empowerment programs where you can find young women who are looking to improve themselves, or probably have a really good idea and are just looking for the space or the platform to realize that idea.
What are some of the challenges you're facing as a technology startup?
So in general, the country is not, it's not the easiest place to start a startup, right? Some countries offer you a lot more support than you get in Nigeria. So we can have that conversation as to whether or not maybe Nigeria builds more resilient entrepreneurs than other countries, and whether that's a good thing in the long term. So we'll have to wait and see. So 10, 15 years from now, we can have this conversation. But in general, it's just hard. The enabling environment is not really there. So just right from taxes or tax breaks or regulations around policies and licenses and things like that, that you would just hope that the big brother over there would just be willing to give you a break for the first 2 years, 3 years before a lot of these things are imposed. They're just not there. So that support isn't there.
All right, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
My guest has been Oare Ehimua, founder Laborhack, who believes that the ecosystem has grown quite a bit, but a lot more is possible if only we support our startups by making our environment a bit more friendly. We can make the next few decades super exciting for startups already working hard to solve problems leveraging technology. It's a wrap on this edition of the show. Follow us on social media at Tech Trends TV. You can watch the entire show and others on the channel's TV YouTube account or via cfablog.ng. For Tech Trends, I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.